When Bayonetta 3 was announced at the Game Awards for the Nintendo Switch, I was stoked. I thought this was an amazing announcement. It's a really great franchise that's going to fit really well on the Nintendo Switch. I thought everyone was going to be excited. But I was actually surprised to see that there was quite a bit of backlash and controversy. I thought all of this controversy sort of, came and went back when Bayonetta 2 was announced exclusively for the Wii U. But I guess the thing is, people still don't entirely understand the relationship between Platinum Games, Sega, Nintendo, and Bayonetta. It doesn't seem that people entirely get it. So I'm going to try and explain the status of Bayonetta with Platinum Games and Nintendo, and what first and second and third party are, because I think some people seem to think that Bayonetta is a third party, and some people seem to think it's first party, and I think it's sort of second party. So I'm going to try to explain that to you guys, because it is a little confusing, but hopefully I can shed some light to you guys on what exactly is going on here. So first off, let's explain what first party is. So first party is, well, Mario, Zelda, like those are first party games for Nintendo. Like that's why you will only see Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild on Nintendo systems. They are franchises owned by Nintendo. They are published by Nintendo. They are paid for it by Nintendo. They are usually developed entirely only by teams owned entirely by Nintendo. So they're first party games. But then there's third party, right? Third party is kind of things like, for example, NBA 2K, Call of Duty, Battlefront. These are games that are developed by third party developers, developers that are not necessarily owned by Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo, but they work with companies like, Capcom, Ubisoft, EA, Activision, and they can put their games on whatever platforms they choose for the most part, and those are third parties. Now, second party is sort of like a little bit of a weird situation, but basically, second parties when there's some sort of agreement between two different parties and they work together. So, for example, Rare at one point was partially owned by Nintendo, and that's why we saw a whole bunch of Rare games being made in the 90s on the Super Nintendo and the N64. However, eventually Microsoft bought out Rare entirely, and it ceased to be a second-party developer for Nintendo and then became a first-party developer for Microsoft because they bought them out entirely, 100%. And yeah, so Rare is a first-party developer for Microsoft now. Another example of a second-party relationship is between Nintendo and Gamefreak. Now, Nintendo does share ownership of Pokemon with Gamefreak and Creatures Inc., which is why you only see Pokemon on Nintendo systems. But technically, Game Freak is not owned by Nintendo. They work closely with Nintendo, and because they focus almost entirely on Pokemon games, that's why you pretty much only see Game Freak making games for Nintendo, but they can technically make other games outside of Pokemon for other companies. And that's happened a couple times. It's rare, but it does happen. Now, the Bayonetta situation is a little different, because Platinum Games is not owned by Nintendo at all. Sega has ownership of the franchise, between Platinum Games of Bayonetta. Nintendo doesn't own Bayonetta at all, but we are only seeing Bayonetta games come out on Nintendo. Why is this exactly? Well, basically, there is an agreement between Platinum Games and Nintendo and Sega to create this game only on Nintendo platforms. Sega, basically is allowing Nintendo to publish the game, right? They don't really do much. They just kind of, own the rights to the franchise. That's pretty much it in name. Platinum Games develops the game, right? But Nintendo is paying for it. They paid for the development of Bayonetta 2. Sega was not willing to pay for Bayonetta 2 when they were trying to get that game running. No publisher was willing to pay for the development of Bayonetta 2. Platinum Games was at a loss here, even though they developed a pretty good cult following with Bayonetta 1. No one was going to pay for the game, but Nintendo came and they did. They paid for the entire development for the game. They published it. They oversaw everything, but they didn't get in the way of the development. And yeah, Bayonetta 2 came out on the Wii U, and a lot of people really enjoyed it. And now Bayonetta 1 and 2 are being ported over to the Nintendo Switch, and Bayonetta 3 is also being funded entirely by Nintendo and published by Nintendo for the Nintendo Switch. And that's kind of a second-party relationship. Some people may choose to see that as third-party. Some people may choose to see that as first-party, but really, it's a second-party relationship because there are two parties in contract with each other to create a product, and that is Bayonetta 2 and 3. So yeah, guys, that's why we're seeing, Bayonetta and Smash Brothers. That's why we're, the Bayonetta probably is going to be on Nintendo for a good long time. I don't know if in the future Nintendo will outright buy the Bayonetta franchise. It's even sometimes been mentioned in different interviews of maybe Nintendo buying a majority stake in Platinum Games so they could become an official second-party developer because they're not for Nintendo. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that everyone's kind of content with the way things are now. Platinum Games has options to develop for other systems, and they can create all sorts of different products for different companies. But they have this great relationship with Nintendo where they're creating a lot of great games, and it's working out. So I'm sorry to those who are still upset that Bayonetta is only coming out on Nintendo systems, but keep in mind you can play Bayonetta 1 on PC and other platforms, and if you really, really like Bayonetta, maybe you should get a Nintendo Switch. Lots of people love it. It has all sorts of games, and you're going to be able to play Bayonetta 1, 2, and 3 on the system, and that's pretty good to have all of those games on one platform. I'm personally excited about it, and I can't wait to play them. So hopefully you guys are also excited about it, and if you have any sort of questions about first party or second party or third party or publishers or developers, let me know in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer that question to the best of my ability. Anyways, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all really soon. Bye.